Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Oopsie. That's better. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the F4L Headquarters podcast. I am your host, the F4L icon, Sean Jazz Stevens. Happy Friday. Bertram, why don't you welcome everyone here? Excellent, excellent. You know, folks, today... Thank you, Bertram. Thank you. Folks, today is a very special day as we are going to have a special guest coming to join us shortly, as we're going to be welcoming back a person who was on our show a couple days ago. Technical difficulties, and as you guys all know, I particularly am a little bit of a perfectionist, and I absolutely hate when things don't go according to plan. Truth be told, I was busy wrapping something up, and almost as soon as that happened, I ran a little bit behind, which I never do. And to my guest, who I will apologize to again when he joins me shortly, I apologize. He's been very understanding, so I appreciate our guest today, who is coming back to the F4L Headquarters podcast, the very talented Kane Lowry. Now, truth be told, apparently I was so behind in the thing I didn't even pronounce his name correctly the other day. But Lowry is a very well-known name, and I want to say I apologize for my nice New England accent. There is no disrespect there by any means. He's a very talented young man. And actually, I am familiar with the name very well. We had some baseball players with that name, as well as someone who I grew up with watching a TV show for back in the day. People who I have featured on the F4L Headquarters podcast before. There was a Lowry who was working on a show called Boy Meets World back in the day. So I am familiar with that name, and I hear it all the time. So to him and to everyone else, I apologize for just a debacle of comedy of errors, really. But regardless, it's Friday. I'm going to kick things off the right way and the best way possible by having an epic guest coming to the F4L Headquarters podcast. Now, for those people who are not following regularly, or people who don't know, today is the F4L, as we're speaking. This is the audio part of our show, and then this is heard on YouTube Live, on Spreaker Live, and then it's going to be heard pretty much everywhere else that podcasts are heard, where we're found: Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcast, Apple. I lost track of how many places. There's some places I never even heard of, to be honest with you, but I appreciate them sharing our podcast with people. As 2024 is going to be even more epic than it was last year, this year is set to be even more epic and iconic as we are setting things up. I myself have a lot of big things in the works, and I look forward to bringing those things and those projects to you all. And one thing, if those people who watched earlier on the F4L Headquarters if you guys watched the YouTube channel earlier, which, again, this is simultaneously going live on YouTube right now as you're hearing this, earlier today we had a special show on Friday as we welcomed, as we did our epic little show, Icons of the F4L, as we had some debuts, which everyone did a fantastic job. Even, sometimes we get into these modes and we have these encounters that are just kind of hard to overcome sometimes, and that's when you have to dig down and get everything situated and get everything right, so to speak. So momentarily we're going to be joined by a guest who was not on the Icons of the F4L show today, but he's coming on the F4L Headquarters podcast, so this is the other part of our day. In today's Friday, so to all those people who, work Monday through Friday, that's exciting. Something I want to point out to people, though, that not everybody actually is off on Fridays. Not everyone is lucky enough to, have Saturday and Sunday off. There are people who work weekends. And there are also some people who have different kinds of jobs, right? If you're working an office job or something like that Monday through Friday, sure. Friday is very exciting, I'm sure, for most. But most people these days, and generally speaking, they work pretty much all kinds of days. If you're working in a regular position at a job, you can be working anywhere between 4, 5, 6 days even. That would bleed into the weekend. Some people have weekends where they work, where they're off on Saturday and Sunday. And some people work Saturday and Sunday, and they are off on Monday and Tuesday. So Monday and Tuesday would be their weekend. I remember myself working, growing and rising into where I would become now. I remember working in a call center, working in a office built management company, and I actually went into work in the PM. So I went into work at 5 p.m. and then I would work pretty much steadily through the night on a Friday. And I remember, if you listen to the radio or you listen to other types of places, then you kind of have an idea that, maybe this, we have, maybe it's a possibility that there's a good chance that, maybe there's a good chance that, if I work weekends, say, it's going to be a little bit more batty, if you would. So there's that. So that's kind of how that works. I remember, like I said, the radio hosts and stuff like that don't really quite get, how that works, and they don't really understand that concept. So to them, I say to them, and I'm sending the invite to our good friend over there, because I want to make sure he has it, so he knows we're ready. Because unlike the other day, I was not ready and they were, so I appreciated someone being before me for once. Anyway, but that frustration of working on the weekend, for example, and working, going in at 5 when everyone else is coming home, and the understanding or the norm is that most people go home at 5 p.m. on Friday. I think that's old school news, though. I don't think that's a common everyday thing now. I think that's few and far between, in all fairness. So there's that. We are awaiting our good friend Kane Lowry, who will be joining us soon. That's Lowry, as in the baseball player. But it's not that baseball player. We're talking about the actor, Kane. delightful young man we had a chance to briefly chat with the other day before, like, when all of the technical issues, and now, we've got the regular setup going, so we're good on that end, and not to mention the fact I got the regular computer working up, so it's exciting, and of course, all is right in the world. And I wanted to just touch on the icons of the F4L real quick. This morning at noontime we did a show, and we had some debuts of some people. I think that for me, I get more fun of, hearing or seeing the reactions of people when they see themselves doing these amazing things that they are capable of doing. Seeing video game versions of themselves doing these seemingly impossible feats of strength and integrity and whatever is a great pleasure to me to introduce that to the world. And while I do that, I explain to people kind of who these people are and whatnot. We kicked the show off today with a very talented individual who was on our roster, set to be released and come out in 2024, which he is. Very talented young singer, rising star in that. Well, we'll talk more about that in a different sense as we are awaiting Kane Lowry. Now, for those... Lowry. As in Lowry. Get it? Lowry. Yeah. Anyway, so what's funny here is, as I am recording this, for those people who don't know, we'll have a video presentation of the same interview that you will hear momentarily. So everyone has the best of both worlds. This has been 9 out of 10. Now, I got to say, since we switched everything, there has not been very many issues. We were able to successfully do that, inter country thing that we did, where we had people from 3 different countries watching, doing our watch along and coming in. In all honesty, that's really an amazing thing because we had not been able to do that prior. And those people we had someone from Canada, myself in the United States, and of course we had the Night Terrors from the Liverpool who joined us as well, and that's of course across the pond. In all honesty, it was because, and if we're being completely honest, it was the Nightmare Noah Tyndall. It was the last show I did under the old moniker, that the reason why I switched from one vendor to the other, because I was tired of having those technical issues where they wouldn't connect people to to other people, and that bothered me. So we had fixed that now, so good on that end, and whatnot. I did want to share one little other thing. It came to my attention recently that people are, taking my likeness and have set up pages or whatever on various social media platforms. Let me tell you something. One, I really don't think the world can handle more of me. But two, I work really hard to earn my name. And a lot of sacrifice and commitment went into me building who I would become in life. And I'm very proud of all of the things that I've accomplished to do that. And if you actually knew a lot of the things that I actually did, I think a lot more people would understand why it's so frustrating to see that someone wants to kind of tiptoe, so to speak, and take over for, try to take what is mine, which is my name that I had earned. So that's a little frustrating to me. But it is what it is, right? Cool. What's funny also is for the video, I was going back to this video portion. I know that I'm kind of tapping on things really quick. The fun part is as I'm recording this, for the audio part, nothing is, everything sounds as normal. But once I hit the record button, it'll sound a lot differently, and it'll be a lot more epic. Sometimes it's fun, just to have that kind of wild red light moment. A red light moment for radio, for those people who maybe never been in a radio studio. Usually there's an on-air button that'll be outside the door where they're recording a radio channel, and that is a sign to other people that they are on the air. So that's always fun when that is the case. I am drinking my coffee. Our guest today is also a coffee connoisseur, as we found out. So that's fun. Yup. I am, just to clarify, I did clear this little mishap about people trying to be me on social media, as I found out last night, which, again, I'm not happy about. But in the same sense, what I've found, folks, is I know people, really, all honesty, there's really no excuses to try to be somebody else. You're lying when you're not the person you're training you're being. But the worst part about it is that when you talk to someone and claim to be someone, well, you could possibly damage the person's reputation with people whom they've known if they don't know that person as well as people know me, luckily. Now, to be clear and to be fair, yesterday I was kind of slapped in the face with this very scenario where I reached out to someone who I had not talked to in a long time, but I reached out, genuinely being supportive, and when their response, which I was confused by originally, but when doing research, I come to find out, well, clearly the issue is this, because when I looked it up, there was several people claiming to be me on various things, because the comment they said was your page and this page, and I only have one page on Facebook. I don't use Facebook, to be clear, to be completely transparent. I use the messenger part. That's about it on Facebook, because I have still a lot more contacts on there than I do on Instagram, which is primarily where I am mostly now when I'm able to get on. Outside of that, in my YouTube channel, which is Icons of the F4L, which if you're hearing this podcast, you know where my channel is. This is my main channel for kind of this and Icons of the F4L. But there is another channel called Life Hacks with the F4L Icon, or the YouTube sensation, Jazz Fitness. And that is because Jazz Fitness returns this year, that being me, by the way. Speaking of which, I'm hearing people. All right, folks, we're going to be right back. I'm going to continue doing this, but we're just going to end this real quick. And I'm still on, whatchamacallit here, but we are going to resend to our friend who is having technical issues. And of course, we'd have technical issues now because, that's when it happens. That's cool. All right. We're going to go ahead and send it again. Okay. Okay. So, folks, just to let you guys know what's going on right now is we're resending our friend the invite for the thing here, and sending. Weirdness this is. Alright, now we should be okay. So I'm going to go back to the podcast, back to the meeting. And now we go back to the live presentation. Well, no, you're not recording yet. Got it. Okay. Okay. And the video. And then my audio. And then things paused. And I'm going to do this. And now it should be okay, I hope. Hopefully. We gotta wait on there. Okay. Our friends are having technical difficulties. It's fun. And there we go. Let's see here. Let's see what the issue is here. Oh. Shouldn't be anything. Nope, should be good. Yep, should be all set there. Security. Yep. Good on that end. Alright. Should be okay there. Hey, participants. So we're just waiting for him. Okay, give me a second, folks. We're going to do this. Alright, we got it, I think. Alright. Save. All right. Pause it. Oh boy, this is a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Oh, what do you know? Da da da. Here we go. What do you know, people? Do do do. Do do do. Hello, how are you? Round 3. Yeah, how are you? Awesome. Oh, I'm much better now. I feel better now. See that we're all both human there. See, we took turns here. So the other day it was my turn. It was my turn. Today we're good. We got all the technical stuff out of the way. We're good now. Welcome again to the F4L Headquarters podcast. I have also fixed my background, as you can see. Isn't it lovely? Thank you. I appreciate it. Your background is also very lovely. So. Oh, very talented. Very talented indeed. Well, happy Friday, first and foremost. It is like a holiday. So, the other day when we were attempting this, we started getting someplace, and then just I couldn't get over the fact that I was all thumbs and everything else. But since then, we've been able to fix things and whatnot. So why don't you, again, tell the people who weren't here the other day how awesome you are and why you are who you are. You did. That's exciting. How was that? How was that? 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Now, the audition. I did ask you this the other day. I wanted to ask you again. Now that it's more. Now we're a little bit easier and everything's flowing solid. What is your process for getting ready for an audition, and how do you go about figuring out what roles to look for and so forth? What is your process for that? Everyone has their own style. Sure. Hmm. Okay. Not bad. That's a good. Scripts are, what's interesting about, when it comes to scripts, and some people are so like tight knit on that. Like when it comes to script writing, I myself, I write what's called an open-ended script, which is a little bit different than a lot of other people do. Because I write New York style, which is what they also call independent film, versus Hollywood style, which is a little bit different. Believe it or not, there's actually different types of scripts people can write. I don't know if you knew that. You probably did. You're an actor. But there are basically, not to bore too many people with the details of how writing goes, or script writing, but there's a New York style, which is kind of tight-knit and kind of freelance more so. It's like kind of like how you would write a play, sort of, word for word. This is what the scene is, da-da-da-da. Now, Hollywood style is a lot different. Hollywood style, it has to be the right margins, and the things have to be in the right places, and whatnot. New York style or independent film's a little bit more laid back than that. My style is a little bit different than that. My style is what I call an open-ended script. So what I think makes it more natural is what I do is I give the actor... What I do is I give you kind of the synopsis. So this is what the scene is. This is kind of the bullet points I want you to hit, but I'm going to leave it up to you to come up with the actual words to use, or or I will leave it up to the actor to kind of reformat things, because I want it to make it look realistic. Because, in all honesty, people have different dialects and people understand things differently. Now, how I would describe something might be different than something like yourself would. Now, if I'm writing a coming-of-age film, granted, I wasn't that young not long ago, but it's been a little while since the 80s and the 90s when I was, a 12, 13-year-old person, right? You might have lingo that kids who are 13 would understand versus what I would when I was 13. You know what I mean? So when I write a script, I make it what I call open-ended. So I kind of give you the bullet points because I want it to come from the actor, because it makes it more real, because it's your words. Like, if I'm going to sit there and tell someone from, Ohio to say, hey, dude, what's up, man? And, talk about this, like, surfer lingo, people in Ohio, Texas, and stuff like that probably would not say dude or whatever. Then again, I don't know who I'm kidding. Nowadays, everyone uses dude and all those things all over again. So never mind that. But still, you get the idea. But, that's cool that you do that. Because scripts are really tough to remember because there's a lot of lines. Now, are you someone who, you said you worked with someone, which is also smart, by the way. It's always good to say it out loud so you can actually get a feel for the character and the movements and, get a rhythm going. That's actually really smart, so well done. What's that? Mm-hmm. I get it. It's cool. I get it. Mm-hmm. Smart. Very well done. Who are you looking at? And where you're going to look, right? That's really smart, especially since, like, if you ever worked in, like, especially if you're working on, like, an animated movie, or something where you're going to be working with, an animation video, like an inanimate object type of thing. For example, movies that have, like, humans and cartoons in the same realm, which is cutting-edge stuff. A lot of the times they'll have, like, a tennis ball or something there for the actor who's physically there to look at. So when the computerized version comes in, that's kind of how that works. But basically the actor does not physically see, the big scary monster in front of him because it doesn't exist, because it's computerized. but the tennis ball that represents whatever that is that it's talking to, that's kind of what that is. So what you're doing there on your own realm, that's actually smart for someone who, I don't know if you've done films where you're working with, things like that, but that's actually really smart because it gives you an idea of where you're supposed to look and whatnot, especially not looking at the camera. That's always so fun. Out of curiosity, so you said before you worked on a few independent films, correct? And you also worked on a couple other things. It's cool. You're only starting. You're only just beginning. You got a lot more to go. I can tell that. I already know. That's a good thing. And now, let me ask you about the lead thing. Now, what do you? Obviously, everyone wants to be the guy who's in front of the camera the whole time. For you personally, do you like being the person that this is about me, or do you like being the kind of the guy who everyone relies on in the background? Not the background, but like the important antagonist or the important other person who is in the film. Like, do you like to be the person who the camera's on the whole time, or do you like to be the guy who's supporting the guy who's next to him? I like that. I want the camera. Okay. That's funny. That's funny. That's how you know you want. That's how you know there's a passion for acting when someone has that kind of thing and wants it. The thing about acting now, I don't know, because you said you've been like acting since 2021. 21, you said? Is that what you said? That's pretty good memory, right? Yeah, I got you there. That's a lot of fun. But that's you're already starting on your way, and everyone kind of earns their stripes. You make those independent films, you do a couple stand-ins somewhere, background stuff, and then what'll happen is, as you probably know, it'll all snowball once you get that one thing. But then what'll happen is you'll get that thing, right? And then you're like, oh, here we go. So let me ask you this. So all of the people, now you've worked with some people, various different, elements of acting skills and stuff like it. What is it like working with other people on set? And who do you prefer working with on set? Now, what I mean by I'm battling off all kinds of questions for you. But let's take one thing at a time. First and foremost, what do you like best about being on set? Let's break it down like that. Sure, that's true. Now, of course, yeah. Now, here's the real question. Now, taking that question, what has been some of the best experiences you've had being on a set? What is your favorite part? Like, obviously, you talked about the struggle. What's the best part for you being on the set? Like, what is a memory that says this is the most fun I've ever had? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure. Right. That's a group building activity. That's a group building activity. That's smart. That's a good idea. You know what? Also, what's good about that also is it builds unity within the unit too, within your cast and crew. It builds. We used to call those group building exercises, and actually, one of the things that I believe in heavily is before you get involved with any kind of an activity or any kind of a filming process, with people you got to be around a lot. Something what I like to do, and a lot of people have adopted this, is I like to encourage. You know, for example, if it's a coming of age film, I like to encourage the kids to hang out as much as I can, or as much as they can, I should say, and to get that kind of a camaraderie going. Because when you're working on a film, like on television, it's important to have that continuity. So one of the things that I have been heavily involved, one of the things that I do on my sets that I've recommended to other people, and other people have adopted that too, is to do like you do, have like games or have things prior to even filming, so you have that kind of familiarity with each other. Because at first it's like awkward. It's like the new kids in school, right? Everyone comes in, no one knows everyone, everyone's coming from everywhere, every different backgrounds, different levels of acting. But what I think is a helpful tool to have is to have that kind of process where you can get what I call the feeling out process, to get to know each other. Because when it comes time to filming, there's more of that laid-back atmosphere, because it's more like you're hanging out with your friends, or you have that, natural ability. Like, even if it's like a film that isn't a coming-age movie, like, if you're working on a film, say you're the son and you have a dad or whatever in the film, and it's like one of those kinds of deals. I think it would be important for you to film scenes with that, or a mother, or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? Because the person you're going to be working with the most in that role, in that scene, you want to have that most continuity in. So that's why I always encourage people to spend and get to know the person they're going to be working off of the most, because you're going to be kind of like war buddies in the end of things. But that's really smart that you've done group building exercises on set. That's a good way to keep, also, especially if you have more than one person, it's a good way to kind of keep the morale up, because that's where things can come in handy when people get tired and people are exhausted. At the end of a long shooting day, you've done 700 takes of the same scene, and now everyone's like, oh, here we go. Trust me, I've been on the other end of that. Not where you are, but I've been on the other end of that, and I know it can't be fun. I've done some extra work, which, for me, being in the background, what do I care? I'm just kind of chilling out here in the background, no big deal. But for someone who has to do take after take after take after take, that could be a grueling thing. It could put a lot of, pressure on someone, like, especially if it's an intense scene. Now, you mentioned, doing a scene where you had to dive and stuff like that, and you were saying, like in a pool type of thing. Is that something those are the kind of roles you would be more into? Are they doing something more sports-like, or or are you looking to do something more like what do you look for in a script? What's something that speaks out, I want to do this in this movie? I get that. I gotcha. Understood. Cool. Epic. I will be right back. I just have an order coming. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. By the way, while we're doing this, while I just gotta go break real quick, why don't you, I don't know, tell people about your top 10 favorite films of all time. Right back. The Incredible Journey. I'm back. Are you a big Star Wars fan? Awesome stuff. I apologize. I had to get my mail that was coming. I apologize. The life of a writer is never easy, let me tell you. Everything else. Anyway, back to you. I apologize. And you know what? I did hear some of those picks and some great that's some great films right there. Some of those I also enjoy. Out of curiosity, so are those roles, the ones you mentioned, all those movies, which of those roles do you think you would have loved to have had a chance to be in, if you could have? And why? Dwayne Johnson, The Rock? We went over this the other day. Okay, cool. That was, all right. Yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's awesome. You know what, though? I get that, especially if you're going to be, I mean, Disney is in general. I've heard good things about people who like to kind of pal around from the Disney World and that kind of thing there, and it makes sense. It sounds, I think it's important when you have that niche and you have those people you get along with, that's where you're going to feel the most comfortable with. So I get that, and that makes sense. And especially since that kind of crew is kind of have a reputation for having that kind of a family-like atmosphere, and that's cool. One of the things that I know that a lot of young actors struggle with, or actors in general struggle with, more so young actors, is the connection piece as far as, like, this is actually a big thing, not a big thing, but like you being, you said, we'll say 13. The average 13-year-old might not have the ambition to do what you're doing. They might not have the work ethic that you have. They might not even, like, why do you want to do this, and whatever, what have you. And what will happen is, there's two kinds of people, right? There's the people who are like, that's awesome, right? And they're supportive. And then there's the ones who are like, why are you doing that, right? So, go ahead. I can't wait. As long as your cameras, as long as your phone's all level, we're good on this end. Oh, cool. So do I. And I have my favorite computer, which is why everything's working all hunky-dory now. So we're in good standards. So by all means, tell us why. I, awesome. You don't have to say. You don't have to say any. You don't have to say. You don't have to say anything about those. You can just tell us, what your experience was, which ones you're excited about. You don't have to even tell us what the movie is if you don't want. It's about what you feel comfortable about. That's all. Mhm. Cool. Epic. I'm excited. I'm excited for you. And you know what I like the most about your presentation? Well, not your presentation, but your explanation is you don't know. I know this story you just said. I've heard so many times, and you know what my favorite part about it is? I've actually seen people do exactly what what you're saying you're going to do. And guess what? At the end of the day, guess what? You have how many movies highlighted on that page? I can almost guarantee you, anyone who's bullied you, 9 movies he's got highlighted that you're actually going to either be in or have already filmed, right? Okay, so 2 leads. So to any of the bullies out there in the world, you've already won. What are they doing so wonderful in their life? Probably not much of anything except for wreaking havoc and doing much of nothing, like the average. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I am a bit. I don't know if you knew this, but I can't stand bullies, and I do a lot of work for anti-bullying stuff. My first film that I wrote was an anti-bullying film, which was based on a song that I wrote, which I performed live in front of people in 2001, about a month after 9/11. Yeah, I know, right? Awesome. I am in full support of anything that's going to put it into bullying. My regular 9 to 5 job is I go to schools and I talk to kids about bullying and how to prevent it and why the grass isn't always greener on the other side and so forth. Because now I got to be clear, I have never been bullied, but I've seen people be bullied, and I learned a long time ago I'm not going to be someone who's going to sit there and watch it happen. And I became proactive versus just sit around and watch it, because I know that happens a lot, which is why when I do my presentations, I go to schools and stuff, and I tell people, listen, bullies aren't dumb. They're going to wait till no one's there. I mean, I know there's all kinds of those old tropes, sticks and stones will break your bones, and, all of those things that, people used to say that none of them ever work together today or not ever. As I had told you before, my ambition growing up was to be a pro wrestler. And I was short, I was skinny, I was poor, I came from a town that nobody cared about, and people in my family never thought that any of it was anything big. And people loved to doubt me. My favorite thing was when my step family, or people in general, said I was never going to graduate high school because I was not smart enough or good enough to do so. So from 7th grade to 12th grade, simultaneously, back to back, I was either on the honor roll or high honor roll every semester. And when I graduated high school, I graduated high school with honors, 14th in class, because my last name has an S in it, National Honor Society, while being on the sports teams, having a couple scholarships that I was awarded, and I still graduated high school with honors. What did I do to get back at those people who said, you're not going to do this, and they talked down to me and all these things? I invited them to my high school graduation because I had to do a presentation, and they had to sit there with the rest of the town and everyone else there when they read that graduating 14th in class, National Honor Society, yours truly, and they'd have to sit there like everyone else and listen to everyone else cheer while they sat there. They didn't show up, of course. But just the sensation, the feeling that I proved them right. Because something that I love more than anything is when people doubt me. You know what I mean? So all those people who said, gave you a hard time before, I can't wait till these movies get out. Because, you know what? I'm going to plug the heck out of them when they come out so people can go see the great Kane in action. So all those bullies can, have their mom and dad give them money so they can see you doing what you do best. That's what I say about that. What do you think of that? Yeah, I think a lot of people forget how powerful words are and how important our roles are, and they forget kind of what gifts we are given. And when I was growing, here comes that old thing again. I started training in martial arts when I was 4. My grandmother thought it would be good for me because we lived in a rough area. So I got into martial arts at 4. I started doing tournaments at 5. And I remember back then, in the 80s we're talking, people didn't talk about doing martial arts or any of these things. But I was always confident in myself because on a mat, I was somebody. The people in my sensei, the dojo that I belonged to, my fellow people I trained with, the people who I competed against up and down the East Coast of the United States, in those regional tournaments up and down, I grew to earn their respect because I put my work ethic in. And again, I was short, skinny, until that whistle blew, and then you found out how quick and tough I actually was. Now, that being said, but my passion, if you would, my kind of moment was when I went to my first live wrestling show, and I was 6. Now, I bring this up because I'm going to ask you another question around this, and it's kind of that awakening, that aha moment, if you would. My moment when I was 6, sitting there at a live wrestling show, was when I decided this is what I'm going to do. Because, at 6, how many people have a goal or aspirations to do anything at 6? Right, every kid, right? And at 6, I would love to be an elephant, let me tell you. But at 6, I was already, doing stuff in the martial art world because I was already doing the tournament stuff at 5, and I was already training hard there. But also I started writing, believe it or not, at 6 and 7. I remember writing my first song, which, by the way, was... my first song I ever wrote the lyrics to was in first grade. I was 7 years old, maybe. No, 6 and 7 I was when I first wrote my first actual song with lyrics, which was awful, by the way. I was 6 or 7, though, in Claire. It was called Thank You, Mother Goose. I was 7. But in retrospect, my aha moment was sitting there live at this wrestling show and feeling the energy from the crowd around. I was 6. I was tiny anyway. But it wasn't the main event that made me want to become a pro wrestler. It was that first match on the card that no one cares about, normally. It was between 2 people, as my uncle said, the 2 nobodies, who participated. One of them, I'm not going to say the name, you don't know, I don't know how much about wrestling you know, but one of them was named Steve Lombardi, who would go on to become the Brooklyn Brawler. The other one was Leaping Lanny Poffo, who, by the way, did poetry as part of his gimmick at that time. Gimmick is what you call a persona of a wrestler. Like The Rock, his gimmick was to be the people's champion. That's his gimmick. Yeah, The Rock. Yeah, I know The Rock. I know Dwayne Johnson very well. He's a really cool guy. Hopefully you do get to meet him eventually, because he is quite interesting. I've been fortunate enough to work with some of the best and know some of the awesome people in the world. But all that comes with a thing. But in retrospect, that first match, watching these two guys have control of this audience, this live audience. Now, when you talked about, doing a live thing before, that's why I say I know what it's like to go live. Because when you're a pro wrestler, that's all you have. There's no safety net. You're in front of all of those people. In all honesty, a lot less, in a very much of a different dress than everybody else is, so to speak. If you ever watched pro wrestling, if you watch The Rock, you know that sense of confidence you have to have, or self-confidence, I should say, to go out there and go out in the Rock attire. Do you know what I mean? But not everybody has that. I had the confidence to go on a ring, and not a ring, but I had the confidence to go on to a martial art mat and all those things. But to feel that energy these two guys were getting, and I remembered that the good guy lost, of all things, but it was the storytelling they told in the ring and how they controlled the audience. That was when I said, I'm going to do that. I told that to my uncle at 6. And my uncle, who's a wrestling fan, said, yeah, we'll see about that, little guy. And 6 months before I graduated high school, I started wrestling school. Now, granted, I was given scholarships. Like I said, I was given scholarships in high school. I was pretty smart. I did wrestling in high school. I also did soccer, football to the world audience. And I was also on the swim team. I was a lot different than I am now, obviously. Definitely not in the size I was in high school and now that I am now. But my first passion was to become a pro wrestler. And everyone who doubted me, my uncle, who was a huge wrestling fan, you're too small and skinny and that doesn't work. I went to wrestling school, the same wrestling school as guys like, I don't know, John Cena, Triple H, I don't know if you ever heard of that guy, or China, half a dozen other people. And I went in there 6 months before I graduated high school. I still graduated high school with honors, committed to full-time wrestling school, graduated from that wrestling school, was signed to my first wrestling contract at 19 years old, and worked for old school ECW under Paul Heyman. So that was how my journey started. So the moral of that story is that my aha moment started back in 1986 at a live show. For you, what was your aha moment when you decided, I want to do that, meaning acting? First and foremost, I'm sorry that happened to you. But I'm proud of you that you're able to continue yourself and you're able to also keep working towards it, because that's important. And I think more so, we're going to make sure you're going to succeed, because that's awful. No one deserves to ever be treated unfairly or bullied. In all honesty, I mean, I don't know how many times I've talked about bullying on this show alone. I've probably talked about bullying more so than people care to hear. But in all honesty, it's something that continues to happen. So my goal is, until it's no longer a thing, I have to continue doing what I'm doing. So if I'm going to have amazing people like yourself who are a beacon of hope to all those other people, because guess what? Sad to say, you're not the only one who's gone through that. But also, you're going to be one of the many people who succeed in order to kind of give that old salute, if you would, to all those people who doubted and were bullies at one point. Because I'll tell you, there's no better feeling to know that you, at the end of the day, won. And at the end of the day, you've earned the bragging rights to say that I did it. The fact that you've already been in films is already more so than any of those people can ever say. You've already accomplished more than most 13-year-olds do in 13 years. Most kids can't even take their trash out or tie their shoes. And you're booking gigs and working for Disney. Right? I know, right? My corniness. But it's true. I know. Not just the corny part. I appreciate. course you can. A lot of people have done that, and there's nothing wrong with that anyway either. How do you like school? Do you like school? What is your school? Explain. That's actually a question I normally ask everybody who comes on the show, is what your school experience is. What are you doing for school right now? Are you homeschooled? Do you go to public school, private school? What class is you going to be in? Oh, okay. That's okay. We'll pass you on that. It's fine. B is still on a roll, by the way. So you know. A sticker. A sticker. Good for you. That depends on how well you make that role work. I mean, are you McDonald's? I think when it comes to jobs, and I think when it comes to a level of success, I think it depends on how we look at things. I always like to think that always you should have a plan A, B, and C. For me, I wanted one thing, but then I also had other things I was interested in. I also loved writing. I also loved to help people. So what happens, especially in my line, see, acting is and one good thing about acting, for the most part, is there's limited ways you can get injured, if you would. But in the same sense, what is interesting is the entertainment industry and the wrestling industry have one thing in common, and that is it's tough on your body and it's tough on your... there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things there. But the other part about it is the wear and tear it does on your body and then the after effects, right? And what I was fortunate enough to know is I had other things I was passionate about. And my first goal was to be a pro wrestler. As much as I could have... I mean, I had my last tournament when I was 18 years old. That was my last martial art tournament. I got my black belt, whoopee, but that wasn't my ambition. I wanted to become a pro wrestler. So I, stopped doing the martial arts and I focused on pro wrestling while I was going to regular high school. But in high school, I was fortunate enough that I was also working other things. I was a writer by high school. I was writing a short story series. I was writing a short story series. It was pretty popular with people, in the school anyway. And I was also writing other things. But I was also dabbling in my school. I was fortunate enough had a human services department where I was learning some basics to sociology and psychology. And I got certified in first aid and CPR at age 16 because that was important to me. More so than getting a driver's license, because I wanted to know how I could help someone versus not. Because like yourself, I've had to overcome a lot of things too, and I don't want to be in a situation where I can't help someone if that's in the case. But moral of that story is, in 2003, probably my best year in pro wrestling. I was in one of the big major wrestling magazines and getting the golden microphone for my speaking ability in wrestling. I've already worked with several of the companies at that point. I worked with some of the best talent who I'm still friends with to this day. And then in 2003, I got injured. I got my knee blown out, and I was out of wrestling for 3 years. So some people might be like, oh, now what? But I had a backup. I had other things I could do. So fortunately, I still had those scholarships, if you remember I had. I was able to activate those and go to what I called regular school. And I earned 2 college degrees in the time that I was in there. So that's how I got a degree in film and human services while I was injured. Awesome. Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. My wife was in the military. That's awesome. I can relate to your mom. A lot of those things you described, I've had to put myself into places because I don't want to be in the space where I can't help someone. And that's a scary situation to be in, but it's also one of those things you don't really think about it. You just know the instincts to get involved. Like when I was watching people be bullied, I would be the one to step in. And then, things like in 2013, for example, where I'm from, I was working for a day program, and while, we went to this race that they have up my neck of the woods all the time. And unfortunately, this day was a dark day for that race, and I was about a block away from where something pretty bad happened. While we made sure everyone was safe in our group, I went to see if I could help anyone where the things went off, and that's just the instincts that I have. So I know how that I can relate to your mom in that sense. There's sometimes you have that impulse, you don't think twice, you just act. And that's kind of what happened there. After I made sure everyone I was with was safe, I went towards where the things went off, and I wanted to make sure I could help in some way. And so I get how that works. And tell your mom I appreciate what she does and what she did. And that's something that a lot of people would do. And that's something that I'm sure you're proud of, that you have a wife. Oh, not wife. You have a mother who is like my wife, a real life Wonder Woman. So that's a good thing. There you go. Austrian. Oh, Arnold. The guns, yeah. One of our old jokes were, I don't know if you ever heard of John Cena. He's a guy that I used to work in the gym with. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. I worked with him a long time. Me and him started wrestling at the same time. So back in the day, John Cena's from my neck of the woods. But what's funny about him is he wasn't originally he didn't want to be a wrestler originally. He wanted to be a bodybuilder. And actually, one of the fun things that we used to talk a lot about is how he got over that. Because believe it or not, did you know that John Cena used to be very self-conscious? And so much so that when he went to, his goal was to become a bodybuilder, because we all would work out in the gym and lift weights. We were called gym rats back in the day. Yeah, well, good. I'm glad that some people still use that. Well, his goal was to want to be a bodybuilder, but he was still not completely comfortable with the whole bodybuilding, presentation. So his coach at that time out in California, he would tell us the story about how his coach had him do his routines in the bodybuilding attire in the middle, in front of the busiest intersection of California. And that's how he got over his kind of self-conscious thing. So it's all about overcoming those obstacles to get what you did, because, that would lead him into, becoming, that. But bodybuilding didn't work out. He came back to wrestling, went to another wrestling school, no big deal. But very nice guy. And generally, I still talk to his dad quite a bit. His dad's a pretty big deal up my neck of the woods. In fact, his dad I'm going to be working with not long from now. But it's cool stuff. His dad's a promoter up in my neck of the woods. And in 2024, when Jazz Fitness returns, so, his dad's one of the people that are going to help Jazz Fitness come back. So that's exciting. But in retrospect, yes, I know John Cena and multiple other people, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. But that actually was going to lead me to another question I had for you. The people you worked with already, I'm sure they're all really cool people. Have you ever worked with someone that you're like, oh my goodness, I'm working with so-and-so? Or the other part of it is, how are you with working with like a big like name? Are you someone who like, oh my goodness, it's so-and-so? Or you're like, oh, hey, how are you? Yeah. Kevin Sorbo? You met Kevin Sorbo? Okay. Why not? I know Kevin Sorbo. I met Kevin Sorbo. Kevin Sorbo's a good guy. How did you like working with Kevin Sorbo? Oh, okay. Cool. That's a religious. It's more of a. Is that more of a like a Lifetime type of thing or a Hallmark type of thing? No, not Hercules. That I know that a lot of the things nowadays that Kevin Yeah. Okay. Cool. What is it? Mm-hmm. Oh, of course. Of course. I hope I know some of those. Something About Mary was filmed up my neck of the woods. Ah, cool. Well, we're almost done, I hope. I'm glad you're having fun. But you're doing good. I hope you're having fun. You're not nervous now, are you? You're good now? You're good. I want to say thank you for coming on the show, first and foremost. And again, coming on the show. Much better than the last time. And it's been a pleasure having you on. Always welcome here. And you are always welcome here. And I hope that you're going to have awesome success, and I believe you will. So before I let you go, I like to let people have the opportunity to say whatever they need to say, plug whoever they need to say, shout out whoever they need to say, and whatnot. So for that, I'm going to turn that back over to you and let you tell people where they can find you, whatnot, and any special message you want to have for people. Tag, you're in. Mm-hmm. Bright light. Sweet. Awesome. One last question before I let you go. Do you like pro wrestling? I was just curious. Because I know you said you mentioned The Rock and people like John Cena, and I know they've done acting too, so that's a possibility you know them from there. So is Dave Bautista. He's another good friend of mine, or as I used to know him as Lazarus. Actually, funny story, then I'll let you go. One of my favorite matches that I had early in my career, we were doing a cross promotion with ECW and Ohio Valley Wrestling, which is where John Cena and some other people trained. And the tag team match was me and or Jazz Vengeance at that time, the 6 foot, 210-pound man, myth, and legend Jazz Vengeance. Don't be afraid, be terrified. It would be me versus and a guy named Lazarus, which was, by the way, Dave Bautista. He would go on to become Dave Bautista. Back then, he was Lazarus. Versus the Prototype and Randall Orton Jr. The Prototype is who John Cena would become. And Randall Orton Jr. is now who Randy Orton is now. And that was like one of my early mid-tag team matches that I had early in my career. So fun story is I teamed with Dave Bautista to take on John Cena early in my career. So that was a fun little tidbit. So there you go. Dave Bautista you might know from Guardians of the Galaxy. He was in that. Yeah. Drax, I believe his name was. Yeah. Yeah, there's a bunch of those. But yeah, that's cool. But anyway, thank you again for joining us. You did amazing, as always. You're always welcome here, and I wish you about the best success possible. I know you're going to rock it. And next time I see my friend Dwayne, I'm going to have to pass along your name and tell him that you're looking for him. All right, you have a great night. May all your dreams come true. You be safe and keep up the great work, brother. Peace. All right, folks. Now it's just me again. Yep, me. Personally, me. First and foremost, again, I want to say thank you to Kane for joining us and being so open and talking about his experience. What I find interesting about this, he's an amazing, resilient young man. I mean, he has had some issues with the bullying and stuff like that, which, no, I didn't know that. But you know what's interesting is what I think is amazing is the fact that he reminds us all, and he actually reminds me of something that I believe in. And the best revenge, or the best kind of getting back at those who are, bullies or the people who try to hold us down, is to succeed. And what I was trying to point out to him, hopefully understood, is that he has already proven that he is far more talented and has more work ethic than any of those bullies who are probably going to do much of nothing. Because all honesty, when your focus in life is just to make others miserable, that means that you have way too much time in your hands and that you have no actual work ethic or any kind of drive. Because if your goal in life is just to make others miserable, first and foremost, it's a very short-lived mission, if you would. But the best part about it is that there's people like myself who people said, you're too small, you're too skinny, you're too short, you're too, poor and whatnot. But guess what? I overcame that to achieve what I did. Kane, this young man right here, he is going to succeed also. He is going to be a big time actor. And I'm sure Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, if he heard Kane's story, I'm sure knowing Dwayne as well as I think I do, or well as I do, I'm sure that Dwayne would also agree that this young man is phenomenal and doing a great job. And I say sticking it to those bullies and acting as a reminder. And my favorite part about when people succeed in their goals, when they are bullied, is when they succeed, the bullies have nothing left. And it shows how pathetic the bullies are in the world. Because while those bullies are so focused on making other people miserable, here's this young man who was, picked on, who overcomes that to work with some great actors and go on to a great, profound acting career. This young man is a very resilient young man, and he has a great legacy he's about to become. His mom sounds like a real-life Wonder Woman. My wife is also a real-life Wonder Woman. And what I find amazing is that there's these real-life dream masters in the world and dream warriors in the world. Kane is a young man who has ambition, drive, determination, a dream. America is built on dreams. And when you have someone who has a work ethic and willing to put the work in, guess what? Those dreams come true. And there's a difference between saying what you want to do in life and then doing what you want to do in life. And I love when people who, are seen as underdogs or seen as, bullying aspects or whatever, I love to see them succeed even more so than anybody else. Because it works in two ways. One, it reinforces their own belief in themselves. And let me tell you, that young man has a personality. He has something that cannot be taught. And I'm going to tell you what that is. I would have loved to have told him. But, I know that he was, timing and so forth. But I'm hoping he's still listening. I hope he hears this and I hope he sees this. Because what Kane has is something that cannot be taught in any acting class. And it is something that cannot be learned in any kind of a workshop. What he has is something that is natural. And this is something that, to me, is something I look in people that separates them from many other people. Kane has it. And that aspect is he has natural charisma. For those people who are not familiar, what charisma is the ability to hold attention, to stand apart from everyone else. Charisma is having the belief in yourself and being comfortable around yourself and confident in yourself. And he's a remarkable young man. He has the charisma. The jokes that he makes, the interactions that he has, how he talks about the various things so naturally. That is charisma. That's something you can't learn. I'm going to give you an example for those people who watched the video presentation of this. How natural he is talking about and remembering certain elements of what I call scenarios and so forth. And, metaphors are fantastic. And I don't know how many times I've had people on the show and I've never heard someone use metaphors like Kane does. I use metaphors a lot, if you guys haven't noticed. In all honesty, I use metaphors because they're easy for people to understand points that I'm trying to make. Kane does it naturally. He remembers these very important life lessons that are used in metaphors. I'll give you an example. He talked about the layers of the cake, so to speak. That is a metaphor. And that is something I use a lot of those myself. For example, when I explain a scenario or I say a certain relevance, it's interesting. A great example of it is a real life story from me when I was younger, when I was literally learning how to ride a horse. I literally got thrown off a horse, and my uncle at that time told me that if I chose to get back on the horse, then you would reclaim your composure, and you would show that the horse that you were in charge and that you're not, afraid. Or I could choose to stay off the horse and give the horse the win for the day. And I chose to get back on the horse, and the horse never threw me off again. That's a metaphor. That story is a real life scenario that I use as a metaphor. You've heard before, the horse, if you get thrown off a horse, you get back on and you stay down. The real life way how to tell a real friend versus a fake one. Real friends don't kick you when you're down, they help you up. That is a metaphor that helps people figure out what a real friend is. Now, in that sense, right, what is a real friend? Real friends don't kick you down, they help you up, right? What that translates into, right, is your real friends, the people who are actually there for you, the people who are going to be there to help you up. They're going to, when you fall at your lowest point, they're going to be the ones to extend their hands to pick you up off the ground. Now, that's a visual, right? Because that's easy to see, but that means so many things, because sometimes we fall down in real life. Sometimes we have struggles. But it's our real friends who will reach out without us having to ask, and will say, hey, do you need help? And they don't judge you. And they don't pressure you to do things. They want what's best for you. Not for themselves, but for you. The old, longer version of real friends don't kick you when you're down, they help you up, goes back to the song that I wrote, Real Friends Don't Kick You When You're Down. And the more of that lyric is, real friends don't kick you when you're down, they help you up. They brush you off and get you ready for another day. That's the lyrics, the rest of the lyrics to that song that I also wrote. But what that means is, you might have a hard time, but it's your real friends who are going to get you through those hard times at your darkest days, at your hardest times. And that's when your real friends will still be there for you. When life gets hard and everything gets complicated, the ones who are not your real friends, they'll be quick to run and hide, and they won't be there. They'll be quick to shoot down your thing and just say, accept your defeat. But your real friends are the ones who are right there with you, side by side. We wish nothing but the best for Kane, and we hope he comes back to show how successful he is. And I'm going to tell you this. He's already successful, more so than any of those bullies right now. Because guess what? Kane was on the F4L Headquarters podcast. Not any of those bullies are ever welcome on this podcast. We don't condone, we don't welcome, we don't invite bullies to this podcast. We invite real-life dream masters, real-life people who work on goals and achieve things in life. We invite people who work and continue to work to become better individuals for whatever their goals are, whether it be entertainment, sports, music, whatnot. Those are the people we welcome to this show, who live the F4L way. Love, caring, compassion, understanding, respect for each other's differences. The F4L way. I hope Kane knows that he is welcomed into the F4L. And I hope he knows that whenever chips are down and whenever things get rough, we'll be here. And to his support system and everyone else, great job. He's doing great. And I continue offering my support in you guys. And I believe in Kane. I believe in everybody. I believe anyone is capable of achieving whatever goals and dreams they have. And I will lend my voice any day of the week when it comes to helping others achieve what they can. This young man is going to be a success story. He's going to be another person who's going to silence the critics, silence the bullies. And I want to say his mom did a great job. I'm not familiar with, I didn't really get into this personal life because I don't think that's professional to talk about, everything like that. But what I love to hear is how supportive his family is and how important the different elements everyone is. How intelligent they all are. His grandpa using metaphors, him understanding the metaphors, his mom, a real-life Wonder Woman. If they're not a success story, then I don't know what is. And if they are not F4L, then I don't know what epitome of an F4L is. This young man is going to do big things in the entertainment world. And I can't wait till he succeeds even more. Sometimes in Hollywood, it's a tough business. I myself have learned about the film business. There are good experiences, there are sad experiences, there are eye-opening experiences, but at the end of the day, the important thing is to take something away from everything you do in life. Take some type of learning lesson, because that's what makes us better and stronger as a goal or whatnot. Myself, we've talked before about people I've allowed on set, or bringing people on, or trusting or empowering other people to be part of something that I worked on. And that comes with a life of lessons, right? But you know what? As much as those things were disappointments, those are gifts that I get to learn from, that I can transport and I can explain to others to help them avoid those things. Now, going back to something I started originally, now I'm on video. I don't hide. It came to my attention yesterday when I was reaching out to someone who I used to have a very decent relationship with. Apparently, someone or people are going and they have multiple accounts of me. Well, I want you to look at my face. I want you to look at me and listen to me directly when I tell you. There is only a handful of places you can find me. You can find me on my Instagram at F4L Icon, SEANJAZZSTEVENS1. That's my only Instagram. It is linked to my only Facebook account. Hold on, I've never even told you guys my Facebook account. I'll tell you my Facebook account, because we're going to clear this up right now. I want you to look at my face, okay, and get this straight. All right, cool. So, because I never look at my page, I am Sean Stevens and Sean Jazz Stevens in the description, the F4L icon, Sean Jazz Stevens, is my name on Facebook. And in the pictures of me is me and my family, my daughter, my wife, my son. In my profile picture, it is again from our wedding that we had from years ago. That is my only Facebook account. Now, granted, I have pages, Jazz Fitness, and the F4L things that I'm associated with, whatever. And then on Instagram, I've already gone over this. I know I've said it. I guess I gotta say it again. My only account is F4L icon, SeanJazzStevens1, Sean Jazz Stevens, public figure. Professional wrestler, YouTuber, podcaster, writer, filmmaker, comedian, public speaker, anti-bullying advocate, leader of the F4L, MMA athlete, and a family man. That is who I am. And you can also find my official links on that Instagram, by the way. And as far as that goes, let's chat about my YouTube real quick, which, by the way, if you're listening to this right now, clearly you know what my YouTube channel is. The only official YouTube channel that I have, get ready for this, is Icons of the F4L. That's Icons of F4L 444. If you're looking at the @ thing. And that is my official YouTube channel for this podcast, Icons of the F4L, and maybe possibly something new coming up this year. And the other channel, if you would, that I have on Instagram, on on YouTube is, get ready for this, because he returns this year. It's Life Hacks from the Fitness Center from the Life Hacks from the Fitness Center with Jazz Fitness. That's me, my wrestling character. And that will be coming back soon, as you'll see some new Jazz Fitness promos getting ready for my return this year to pro wrestling. Those are my only things. I am not on X or Twitter or anything like that. I had one. I do not use it any longer. No use of it. I don't have TikTok. I don't have Snapchat. I don't have, what was the other thing? Telegram or anything like that. Listen, I can barely operate the things that I already have, which is Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and of course this podcast, which is heard anywhere that a podcast is. Outside of that, this is it. This is who I am. This is where I am. Anyone who tries to pretend to be me, you must have some, I'm telling you, you are... I would think you would want to pick someone a lot easier to be than me. But apparently, regardless, anyone who's listening right now, and, I could choose to get upset about the misunderstanding, but you know what? I don't, because I understand how frustrating that is. Unfortunately, this is not my first time hearing about someone trying to be me. But I want to let people know this is who I am. And I have said it time and time again. If you have questions, come see me. Come talk to me. Reach out. Because anyone who knows anything about me knows anytime you send me a message, I will always respond. And if you tell me that isn't the case, then obviously it's not me. And another thing I want to point out, some kind of red flags that how you can tell if it's me or not. I will always keep things up and up and be respectful, and I will not say things that are misleading or misunderstood or anything that would be outlandish. I keep things pretty professional. I am supportive. I might tell a dad joke here and there, but I am supportive, I am honest, and I am always going to tell you how it is. If someone asks me a question, I'm going to answer them directly and answer them honestly. Last year, I had put a lot of work into something, and then all of a sudden, people decided to try to attack me personally and paint me in a different image. And I'm wondering how many people have been trying to pretend to be me, and how many people have attempted to do this in the past, and how long this has been going on for. But regardless of that, I've already cleared up that whole mishap last year, and I have already proved time and time again about all of that you shouldn't believe all of the fake hype. Because everyone found out that, nope, I was right again, and I told the truth always. At the end of the day, I could have been upset about all that last year, and the only thing I'm really upset about isn't so much about these people who I've cut out of my life now, because frankly, if you are going to go that route and try to force, ask me to help you, and then you want to just get rid of me, all that, and take credit for that. Hey, whatever. By all means. That just means I have nothing to do with you anymore. Or my F4L have nothing to do with you anymore. That's all. Because at the end of the day, I have learned that you can't make everyone happy. And I want to point out to people that if you think that people are always love my support, if you think that I haven't been either attacked verbally or any other ways by people, you'd be wrong. I've been called names. I've been attacked I've been attacked cyberly. I've had people hack my accounts. Listen, at the end of the day, I'm still standing. At the end of the day, my F4L still know who I am and know what I'm about. And at the end of the day, I have a voice. I'm not afraid to use it. I have a face I'm not afraid to put out there. I have been proving people wrong my entire life, and I enjoy doing so. And at the end of the day, it comes down to the fact that, like I said to Kane, everything I have, I've earned on my own. And sad to say, I didn't have all that support from the people who are closest to me. I am happy that Kane has that. I am happy that a lot of my F4L, a lot of my successful people in the world, and a lot of my friends who are F4L, a lot of the people who I have so much respect for and value in, they have those supports. But guess what? I support them too. But the reason why I support them and the reason why I'm so passionate about helping others and giving back is because I know what that struggle's like when someone doesn't believe in you. And I also know that sometimes in life it comes to that one moment of a leg up, that one opportunity. And I often said, if only I had this opportunity at this time or that time. But guess what? At the end of the day, I took the opportunities that were given to me, I made them work, and I succeeded at that. I accomplished what a lot of the things that I wanted to. I surround myself around people who are also hardworking, dedicated, and go after their things, have goals in mind. I don't really associate with people who have nothing going in their life or nothing, no goals, no work ethic. And a lot of people have this misunderstanding or this misconception that because I'm nice or I seem nice, and I am nice for the most part, I'm respectful and professional. And if you ever get something from me that it sounds off and it's nothing that isn't professional or something constructive like that, then it isn't me. That is a fact. Anyone who ever takes the moment to understand that will understand what that is. I want to say thank you to everyone who has been always supportive. I want to thank everyone on Instagram, on Facebook for the last several years for always reminding me who I am and also standing by me whenever someone tries to break me down. Being seen as a leader of the F4L, because people put me in that role. Who put me in that role? My F4L worldwide put me in that role. I take that with a badge of honor, and I take that with great pride. And a lot of people see being F4L as being weak, and that isn't the case. Because in order to be F4L, you have to be strong enough to withstand and to uphold the code of the F4L. To live every single day the F4L way is a lot harder than you think it is. But it also means that I stand up for those things and I don't sit back and let things happen. It always hurts me when I hear about someone who gets bullied and I'm not there to protect them. And I have to question to myself, where is anybody stepping in? Today I heard Kane's story and I instantly felt remorse that I wasn't there. I didn't know Kane really like that, nor would I really be in his area of where he would be done. But that's the kind of person whom I am. That's the kind of integrity that I have. And I wanted to address that. And I wanted to make sure people know there is only one of me. And those people who are pretending to be me and who are trying to damage my reputation, let me tell you, eventually I'm going to find you. Now, not long ago we found out someone who was helping with that element. There was someone actively spreading false things and trying to get it back at me, considering he broke copyright laws and things like that. I don't say his name publicly on this podcast because I don't want to give him any press. If you go back to the podcast where I had my cousin on here, however, not long ago, he brought him up. So if you go on to my old podcasts where Shaheem Blue came on my podcast, the only relative so far, other than my family, my wife, my son, and my daughter, who has ever been on the show, has been my cousin Shaheem Blue. If you go back to listen to that show on Spotify, you can hear the person who lied and proof behind it, considering that's on there. I can tell you this also, I have another cousin who was there filming on set who has been dying to come on here, but the reason I haven't had him on here yet is because I don't want that person being brought up all the time, because I don't want that person getting any kind of credit. Having someone Google someone is giving them free press. I'm not going to do that. Just like the people who are upset with me, I have to make sure they understand it's not me you're upset with. Whoever is putting themselves out there as me, that's who you have to be upset with. And if you had reached out to me, I could have cleared that up. But it's okay. It's cool. You're never going to be mentioned. But know that first and foremost, I'm sorry that someone had pretended to be me. And I'm sorry whatever they did to you. And I'm sorry for whatever they did. Representation is a poor representation of who I am. But on the same sense, I can guarantee you that it definitely has nothing to do with me personally or me and myself. Because there would be absolutely no reason for anyone to treat me that way. or for anyone to ever question something that I do or say, because there is just there's too much going in the favor of yours truly than the people who want to be me. And I do know there's a lot of heat on me. I do know a lot of people are not happy with me. My blood family are starters of that. This podcast is like running nails on a chalkboard to them, because I say exactly how it is. They hate that. I talk about the values of the F4L. They don't understand that. And by doing that, they take it personal. And at the end of the day, that's not really what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make the world a better place. But by making the world a better place, that means I'm not going to bring and make that about you. There are certainly a number of people who I personally would love to just sit here and say all kinds of things directly to these people who have said things or annoyed me in some way. But rather than me do that, I talk in reference and I confirm my beliefs by not saying their names, but by bringing them up and telling the scenario. They know who they are, which is another reason why they're not happy with me. But you know what? They're not happy with me because the truth hurts. It's not easy to be a leader. It's a lot easier just to kind of go and conform. That's not who I am, though. To be a leader means you have to take those risks and you have to lead by example. In the example I set, I want everyone to know that you can accomplish whatever you want in life, and that you can't let other people dictate to you or tell you who you are or what you're about, because you yourself know what your self-worth is. That young man, Kane, is going to do huge things. Mark my words. Anyone who comes to this F4L Headquarters podcast is going to do big things. You want to know how I know that? I don't want to... Listen, I'm going to be direct with you guys. I have to take a moment to just give praise for a second, if I could. Right after this, bear with me, folks. Hold on. We're going to go like this, and we are also going to play you guys this one right here. Enjoy this music while I get ready for what else I have to say to you. All right, that's enough of that. All right, so I'm back. I want to acknowledge some people, if I could, for a moment. And I want to see if you guys can understand kind of where I'm coming from. First and foremost, I am proud of everyone. For anyone who has ever worked hard and dedicated themselves to whatever their goals and dreams are, I am in full support of whatever it is you want to do. I see no difference between someone who wants to have a goal in entertainment or sports. Granted, there are different goals and different aspects of things that you want to aspire to do. But at the end of the day, what truly makes the person is the work ethic that goes into them. And I want to acknowledge a few people. First and foremost, let's start with our latest guest, Kane Lowry. That's right. I know how to say your name, bud. Kane Lowry. I just screwed that up now, didn't I? Kane I've watched Kane. I've seen him do some incredible acting work in some films and some other things. He is fantastic. I told him he had natural charisma before, and I would have said that to him live while he hadn't. I apologize I didn't get to. But almost as soon as I was talking to him, he landed yet another gig, and I couldn't be prouder of a new friend of the F4L Headquarters podcast. And Kane, I hope you know that you now have the F4L backing you up as well. So thank you for being you. But now let's go back in time, if we could, to examine some of the other amazing people that we've had over the years. People who are real-life dream masters. People who took a chance to come on this F4L Headquarters podcast. And I'm going to give you a little brief update on some of them, as I still talk to every single one of them, because unlike so many other people who kind of bring people in just to bring them in for whatever reason, I bring people on here because I want to help make sure they succeed in their goal. And I am all for people succeeding in whatever it is they want to do. I have invited many others, but let's just chat about the people who did come here on the F4L Headquarters podcast. Okay? Let's go back to Walker Campbell, a very talented singer, actor, model, sportsman, human being, F4L brother. Walker Campbell is the epitome of the total package of what a dream master and what an F4L is. I have been proud to watch Walker Campbell do what he has done. Just continues to be himself. I love his family. His family are fantastic people. His mom, one of my favorite people in the world. Walker Campbell is very successful at the things that he does, and he continues to become even better. And he also is welcome here anytime. The Menya boys, Henry and Hyro Menya, right? Upcoming, as I said their names multiple times on this show, up and coming, rising, future UFC champions. They've come on this show twice. The reason they haven't come on sooner is because they're very busy working on those goals and dreams. But guess what? Both Henry and Hyro Menya, both singly and individually, individually, since being on the podcast, have added to their championships and added to their goals and added to their legacy of wins. They are the best of Texas. They prove it every time. We are proud of both of them. Literally, they have grown on the show. Jojo the bodybuilder, who's been on the show a couple times. Jojo is the one person on social media who has the opportunity and the right to call himself a bodybuilder if he's under a certain age. The reason he can do that is because he has lived and is who he says he is. Jojo the bodybuilder has been on this show a couple times. Now, granted, he hasn't been on since we've done this format. He will eventually. Jojo is one of the hardest working, dedicated, and revolutionary people that we've had on the show. This show, he's also on Icons of the F4L. He is one of our first and only Grand Slam champions, which means that JoJo, the bodybuilder, has held every title that we've had. And JoJo's been around the block long enough to have a bunch of titles. Now we really only have 2 sets on each show. And JoJo continues to add to that legacy. JoJo has actually competed on a bodybuilding stage and competed as a bodybuilder. That's why he gets to call himself JoJo the Bodybuilder. To all those people out there who take pictures in front of your mirror, as we had with one of the smartest human beings I know, Jaden Brooks, we talked about it. The amount of people who just take pictures for themselves just to, I guess, show that they could take pictures themselves, but not actually have any drive of why they're doing that, other than they want to take pictures of themselves. But what they don't realize, as Jaden also said, is that when they're just taking pictures in front of a camera, everyone's doing that. You're not standing out anymore by doing that. You haven't done anything differently than anybody else, your age or your bracket or whatever else. You're doing like everybody else does. Sorry, you're not standing out anymore by doing those things. Now, Jaden, who also is a fitness connoisseur, but he does it more for fitness and to be healthy, mentally, physically, emotionally. He is an entrepreneur. He is younger than most people who have no ambition to run a business, let alone anything else. And Jaden, who we've had for a few years now, we've had him come on the show, and actually I think Jaden has a record right now for the most times coming on this show. And we're proud of him. Every time he comes here, he's always elevating himself and always evolving. JoJo the Bodybuilder is another young man who, like I said, has done amazing things, and we're proud of him. Grayson the Super Duck Russell. We had him on the show a couple of years ago, right? One of the best pure wrestling strikers I've seen. He's also trains in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He is a tough young man out of Georgia, and guess what? We had him on the show. He has gone on to win multiple titles since then. He's gone on to be successful in both wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, even when life became difficult and things hit, he showed perseverance, he showed integrity, he showed grit, and he continues to set the standard for what a real dream master is. We couldn't be prouder of the Super Duck. One of our recent guests, this is probably one of my most interesting things. Action Jackson Baker. Very, very charismatic individual. We had him on the show, I think, in October. In October, he was getting ready for a fight he was going to have. And apparently that fight didn't go as he had planned, but he was added to the Icons of the F4L, our YouTube wrestling show. But since then, since that show, he continues to persevere, add to his wrestling arsenal, as well as his martial arts background, and I communicate with them all the time, and guess what? I'm very happy that Jackson is getting people almost daily calling him to sponsor him in that amount of time. I said these names, they come on the show, and they succeed. Some people come back, some people move on and do big things, and I'm proud of either one of them. I'm proud of either one of those groups. Either you come on the show and you do bigger things and you can't come back on the show because you're too big, or you come back and forth and you continue to elevate and evolve into becoming even more so. And going down the list of amazing people, let's not forget about the King of Bling, Elijah Furton. Big E. He was on our show not long ago, too. Was he on the line? He was on our show, and he has since being on the show, he's continued to add to his legacy and add to his repertoire. On our wrestling show, he is one of the most dominant people we have. He accepts and also believes in his abilities and his personality. He likes his gold, and he likes to wear it and look good. That's a champion if I've ever seen one. He also has the work ethic, the drive, and the determination. There's a reason why he's the king of bling. And he continues to rise and become even bigger. And all of these people who I mentioned, they have all done amazing things since coming on this show. I want to point out, they've done big things before coming to this show, too. I don't want to take anything away from them. But what I'm pointing out is the fact that I recognize real talent. I recognize the real deal. And I believe in people. And I have no problem singing the praises of people who work hard and dedicate themselves. How many times have I said the names of people who I know probably will never come on this show? Because they're either too busy or whatever. Some people are not into the talking about themselves. But guess what? That doesn't mean they don't listen, respect, or acknowledge the fact that they know that I know they're awesome. Some new people I'm going to tell you that we're trying to bring in here. Jesse the Untamed, Connor Money Stellman, we're trying to bring in here. Isaiah the Natural Trainer. We had the Nightmare Noah Tyndall, and he will be coming back now that we know everything works. We're going to be bringing the Redheaded Terror, Anthony Devilweek, back too for his own little segment. We're working on bringing in the Nation, Ryder Lockwood. And you know what they all have in common? Every single one of them. I said they're going to do big things. They continue to do big things. Is it a coincidence? They work hard. I acknowledge their work ethic. Some people just, click a picture and whatever. I not only support them, I acknowledge them and I sing their praises. And I've been doing it longer than a lot of other people who've been sleeping under a bridge, who haven't had a chance to hear these people. When it comes to Florida, how many times have you heard this name, the Adele Boys? Anthony, the Hunter, Mason, the Hammer, Ty, the Devil, Troy, the Terror, Adele. All four of those brothers of the Adele Boys are all beasts in their own right, and they are the dynasty of Florida sports. The people who surround themselves with the Adele Boys, who train as hard as the Adele Boys, who train with them and fight with them, people like Jake the Snake LeBlanc, who, by the way, has an upcoming fight on the 13th, which is tomorrow. Let me tell you, Jake the Snake's going to show up, and Jake the Snake LeBlanc is going to show up, represent, and I would almost put money that the Snake strikes and adds another W to his legacy. Again, all of these people have an open invitation here. But the reason why they haven't is, one, because they are extremely busy achieving their goals. They have some of the hardest and most... They are busy individuals. They work hard. But you know what? The reason they are as successful is because of the work that they put in. That's why I don't badger them or I don't go easy by supporting them. I don't necessarily... I don't mind endorsing people knowing that maybe they don't care. Or, well, I'm not saying they don't care. They obviously respect the fact, and they know that I respect them, and they know that I support them. But I think that when it comes to, listen, when you're at that level already, where you're already a dynasty, you don't need to worry about doing things like podcasts and things like that. Granted, they have an open invitation here. But sometimes you don't need to talk about why you're awesome. Now, granted, I'm happy to have people reinforce why I say they're awesome. People that I've had on the show that I just mentioned, they remind people why they're awesome. They go on, they continue to show people why they're awesome. The Adele boys will continue doing that until they are all UFC champions. Jake the Snake LeBlanc, another one. Connor C.J. Stellman, another one. Jesse Untamed Wellman Jr., another one. The Lionheart Dmitry Chernikov in the California area, another monster rising. Henry and Jairo Mena, the Monsters of Texas. Ryder, the Nation Lockwood. Big E, the King of Bling, Elijah Furton. These are the epitome of what the future of UFC is. You know what? The outlook is perfect. Then you have Noah the Nightmare Tyndall. You have the Red-Headed Terror Anthony Demoweeks. You have Isaiah the Natural Trenya. So many monsters of the world who are future locker room leaders, future UFC champions. I got news for you. I have said the names multiple times. How many times have I said, in order to be the man, you must beat the man? That's an old wrestling term, granted. But in order to prove that you are the best, you need to take on the best. And I got to tell you, there is an upcoming fight that I personally am excited for, but also I am concerned, not concerned in the bad sense, but because I can't pick a winner. I have to be neutral because I have so much respect for both athletes. Here's what I know at the end of the day. That is the epitome of what a dream fight is. And that fight that is coming up is going to feature the best of the UK, the best of the US. But guess what? There can only be one best in the world. And if the Nightmare Noah Tyndall is number one in the UK, Isaiah the Natural Trenya represents the United States. Both young men, hardworking, dedicated, hardcore, both are future UFC champions. Both are beasts. Both are icons of the F4L. Both are the leaders of both of their worlds. They're going to have a real life fight. This is the epitome of what a dream fight is. This is, well, in hindsight, in the youth MMA world, I don't know if there is another dream fight out there. I mean, I personally could think of some that would be pretty good. This is something I couldn't even book. They did this in real life. In all honesty, no matter who wins that fight, they are both warriors. They are both dream masters. They are both icons of the F4L. And at the end of the day, they are both the best of their divisions and the best of their worlds. And whoever emerges at the end of that fight between Noah the Nightmare Tyndall and Isaiah the Natural Trenya, whoever walks out of that will be the best in the world. The other person is going to be the person who's going to challenge that person again. I guarantee you on that. They heard and listened to what I say. Because in order to be the best, you need to challenge the best. You don't become the best in the world because someone says you are or because you tell people you are. Noah the Nightmare Tyndall had a fight not long ago that everyone talked and raved about this other person who, by the way, I've never said anything about on this show because I don't see it. I don't believe the hype. Noah the Nightmare Tyndall, I believe the hype. And when I heard these two people were going to fight, and I heard they were going to have a match, I got to say I was excited because I knew what the outcome would be. I knew that the Nightmare would humble the Beast. Oh, sorry, the Mini Beast. And you know what? Guess who was right again? I can't wait to get Noah on this show again so he can tell people about that particular fight. I got to say, I saw some footage from there, and he came in there with all of these fans thinking that they had a real champion, thinking they had this thing in the bag. But guess what? They believed the hype. Noah didn't do the hype thing. He went with the real thing. And it goes to show you, sometimes nightmares are better than beasts. And some nightmares come true, and that's exactly what happened. You know what? I'm hoping that after that, maybe the young man learned to be humble after that. I don't know, because I haven't heard much about him since, because the nightmare made him humble. Is exactly what he's done to many others. Now, you've heard Noah on the show here not long ago. He was on here during our watch-along, and he said he had a loss here and there, but he doesn't let that hold him back. He comes back and continues to add to his titles. Now, Isaiah, the natural trainer, is planning on coming on here, and eventually he will. I think it would be interesting to see what would happen if I could bring the two of them on at the same time. I am neutral to both. That is going to be tough. But I might have to be the person who wants to see what happens if that happens. My mind is going because I think I might be able to do that. But anyway, we're going off on a tangent here. The point of this is people listen to this show. And despite the fact how many people want to deny it or not listen to it or not acknowledge it, the proof is in the pudding. The proof is all over the place. When people... Another example is the Super Duck Grayson Russell one time needed a fight. And I said, in order to prove that you are the best, you need to challenge the best. And when I said that, the Super Duck needed a fight, go see him. The Super Duck got a fight. Someone went to go see him. That's how it works, folks. And I say this again to anyone else out there. In order to really get what you want in life, you need to put yourself out there. You need to put the work in. What Kane did tonight is something that actors do. And what people who want to be successful do. They network. And they get themselves out there, because that is how you get places. That one opportunity, that one appearance can open up your world to other things. After this appearance, heck, I might be, if I have something in the works, I might be willing to call up Kane Lowry to give him that opportunity. In fact, I might just have something for him. But he might be too busy doing the movies that he's already succeeding in, and that's okay with me. Because that is his passion, and that's what he's meant to do. So, I have mentioned the names of other people on this show, and they've gone on to do some big things, and I can't be prouder of all of them. I am proud of every single one of them. And I'm hoping that in 2024, even more people can be woken up to these amazing human beings who I call Dream Masters and Dream Warriors, icons of the F4L. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think there's much else to be said here. So allow me, if you would, or not me, but allow my good friend Bertram to play you guys this tribute. So to everyone out there who works hard, who has dedicated themselves to a goal or a dream, to everyone who's come on this F4L Headquarters podcast, to everyone who has gone on to succeed, Bertram, play the music to show camaraderie and to show our appreciation. Excuse me, folks. And that will do it here from the F4L Headquarters podcast. To everyone out there, may all your dreams come true. Enjoy your weekend, everyone. Peace. Peace, everybody.